Hello class, this is lesson 1-8, adding and subtracting decimals. This is the Learning Needed channel. My request to students in all videos, remember your reason to pass the GED exam and use that reason to motivate you to get a passing score on all 4 exams and get that GED certificate. I'm rooting for you guys. Second is don't give up. This is not an easy task, but it is a great undertaking and you will pass the exam as long as you keep studying, push past the hard parts, and ask for help. Lastly, please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I can only continue providing this GED content with your continued support. I do intend to have video lessons for all 4 GED subjects, and I am very looking forward to doing that with your continued support. If you are interested in one-on-one tutoring where I work with you live on some practice problems, a specific subject, or just some guidance on studying or feedback on your understanding of a subject, not just in math, but in all 4 subjects, I do offer a tutoring service in my website that is listed in the video description below. Finally, the study material that I do suggest to students and that I use myself sometimes when working with students is the Kaplan GED Test Prep Book. It looks like the purple book there. They do release a copy every year or a new version. You don't need to get the latest version, but it is a very good resource to have. It has very quick and easy material lessons for you to go through. It is quick and straight to the point for all 4 subjects, not just math. So it is a very good resource to have. And note that for the GED math test, the only calculator you can bring with you physically to the exam is the TI-30XS model. No other calculator can be allowed to be used. If you would like to get a copy of the latest GED test prep book and the calculator, I do have links to purchase those in the video description below. That way you know you are getting the correct version of each. All right, let's get started. Adding decimals. It's going to look very, very similar to adding whole numbers, but the alignment is different. Here you align by the decimal point and you add zeros so all decimals have same amounts of digits. So when you add whole numbers, you align them by the column's rightmost edge. However, in decimals, it doesn't quite look like that. With decimals, you align by the decimal point, not by the rightmost edge. So for example, here we add 1.7, 0.92, and 2.839. And the first thing I'm going to point out is that each of these have a different amount of digits. And this will affect how they are aligned one over the other when doing hand calculation addition. You align by the decimal point and add zeros at the end, and then you add as normal. So when I align them for hand calculation addition, I am going to align them by the decimal point and then write it out accordingly. So if you see here, 1 digit to the left of every decimal point and then the corresponding digits to the right. But in order for us to do hand calculation of decimal points, all numbers have to have the same number of digits. These do not. The first number has 2 digits, the second has 3 digits, and the fourth has 4 digits. Although you could argue that the second number, 0.92, actually only has 2 digits because leading zeros don't really add value to it. But again, they all need to have the same number of digits. So what I do here is I add zeros to the end of the numbers so they all have 4 digits. Once you have this, then you add them like you would whole numbers. Note that the answer will have to have the decimal place in the correct location. So you add as normal and the decimal place is locked in to the correct position if you align them correctly. So if you do hand calculation for this, 0 plus 0 is 9, 3 plus 2 is 5, 9 plus 8 plus 7 is 24, and then 2 plus 1 plus 2 is 5. So the answer here is 5.459, and the decimal point is already aligned to the correct position, and you kind of add around it. Subtracting decimals is the same as subtracting whole numbers, but again, the alignment is different. You align by the decimal point and add zeros so all decimals have the same amount of digits. Exact same setup as subtracting numbers. No difference in rules. You treat it as if you were subtracting whole numbers. The only difference is the alignment. So, as an example, solve 4.02 minus 0.731. Again, they have a different number of digits. 4.02 has 3 digits and 0.731 has 4 digits. So when you align them, you will notice that the first number is missing a digit so that they match in amount of digits. So as before, you simply add a 0 to the end of it. Now they all have the same amount of digits, and you subtract them just like whole numbers, and the answer will have the decimal point in the correct location. So when you solve for this by hand, the answer becomes 3.289, and again, the decimal place is already in the correct location. And that is all there is to adding and subtracting decimals. The main important thing is to align by the decimal point and add zeros at the end of decimals as needed. Let's look at a set of example problems. A recommended set of school supplies are $1.49 for a pencil set, $2.59 for a notebook, and $4.56 for a binder. How much does this set cost? So here it is simply adding decimals, and lucky for us, all three numbers have the same amount of digits, so I suspect that I will not need to add trailing zeros. But I will align by the decimal number, so I'll start with the first value, $1.49. The second is $2.59, and the last one is $4.56, and then we add them as if they were whole numbers because the decimal point is going to be aligned to the correct location. So 9 plus 9 is 18, plus 6 is 24, 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 5 is 11, plus 5 is 16. Then 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4, plus 4 is 8, and the decimal point aligns correctly, and the answer is $8.64 is how much this set costs. And now problem number 2, which is a follow-up to the first problem. Steve has $60 in his wallet and paid for this set. How much money does he have after his purchase? So this is a subtraction of numbers where it is $60 minus $8.64. Here, the first number doesn't have a decimal explicitly written out, but with any whole number, the decimal place is located at the end because 60 without a decimal is the same thing as if I were to say 60.000, so on and so forth, right? We use this hidden decimal point for whole numbers to align them as needed. So we do $60 minus $8.64. So the decimal point is here, and it looks like this. Now the first number needs two trailing zeros for us to be able to subtract. So remember, the amount of decimal digits that need to match is the decimals. So the amount of decimal digits need to match. Because 60 is 2 digits and 8.64 is 3 digits in total, but the amount of digits that we actually need to worry about are how many decimal places we have. So 60 had no decimal places and 8.64 had 2 decimal places, or numbers after the decimal point, and that is why we needed to add 2 zeros to the $60. Now that we have added the appropriate trailing zeros, then we subtract as normal. So if you want to do this with a calculator, you can, but just by hand, you borrow from 5, it becomes a 10, becomes a 9, because you continuously borrow all the way to the end. 10 minus 4 is 6, 9 minus 6 is 3, 9 minus 8 is 1, and then you bring down the 5. Again, this is not a lesson about adding and subtracting. I'm just doing it by hand just as a refresher, but in this case you are welcome to use a calculator. But after Steve pays for this set, he has $51.36 left in his wallet. And that was today's lesson. Adding and subtracting decimals are very similar to whole numbers. Again, align the decimals correctly and add the appropriate amount of zeros to the end of the decimals so that you can add or subtract correctly. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.